Awesome, man. It's great to actually see you. How are you?
It's very nice to see you too. I'm doing pretty well. Um, back here in Denver. I was in Vermont last week, uh, so it's pretty fun.
Nice. What was
and
happening?
You're in New York, Brian. Where are you?
No, sir. I am in Greenville, SC. Yep.
Really, dude?
Yep.
I was in Asheville a couple weeks ago. I should have.
Excellent.
When was the last time you guys saw each other?
I was trying to remember that very thing, and
I feel like
I
it may
don't
have
know.
been in the 2010, 2011-ish range, I think. Maybe.
Probably here in Colorado.
Mhm.
Maybe a last waltz or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Nice. Did you play the last waltz also, Brian?
I got to do I did Forever Young.
It was the best Forever Young still to this date.
Oh,
No, I'm serious. I'm not saying that just to blow smoke. I've been telling Tori that for fucking 20 years.
oh wow.
Uh,
Thanks, man. That's awesome. That was
No
the
offense to anybody else who does it.
I'll need to. Where can I find a copy of that? That's one of my favorite tunes.
I mean, I should. It's probably on archive. I'm having this weird thing where I hear you guys just fine, but I don't hear me, which is
I'm having
okay.
that as well.
I know what I sound like.
Sounds good. Sounds actually.
And you guys sound great too. It's just weird. Like I'm only hearing me in my head.
Yeah.
Speakers. It's all good though.
Right on. Well, what was in Vermont?
Wedding.
Oh, right on.
Outside, maybe 45 minutes outside of Burlington.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was neat.
Well, cool, man. Well, just for folks, who might be joining us, full disclosure, we're just getting things going, right? So our audience is very, very lean.
Okay.
However, as with many of these things, down the road is hopefully where we'll find some more listenership. So for folks who might not be aware of what you've been up to or who you're playing with or
who I am.
Yeah. So why don't you just give us, the quick elevator speech, of maybe your pro music career, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions and stuff to help flesh it out.
Cool. Well, my name is Eric Martinez. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and by way of the East Coast, DC area, and I've been doing the music thing professionally for roughly 20 years, starting with a band called CubanStack, and then going right into breaking and entering Mr. Brian Sofer. And that's where that's where I'd probably did my first touring. Was in your Dodge van, the big green machine, driving all across the nation.
Yeah,
which was killer. And that brings me to Jordan, correct?
Yes.
Are you still in Portland?
I'm still in Portland. Yep.
Awesome. I go there a lot myself these days.
Nice.
Sorry,
Playing with Jerry.
Yeah, totally. I think we just announced some New Year's shows out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But that was like, what was that, 2004 when we were doing that? 19 years ago, Brian?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep. 0405.
Yeah, it's a long fucking time ago, man. And to say I'm still doing it is unreal to me. Because I went from playing with you to playing with Tori Pater to playing with Bloodkin, playing with the Dirty Birds, playing with Jerry Joseph and the Jackmormons to now these days I play with his band a lot throughout the year. Not everything, but a lot of stuff. And of recent have been lucky enough to get hitched on to Jojo Herman's Star. and I'm doing a lot of gigs with him these days.
That's
Right.
awesome. My wife just saw you at
Oh, really?
Ophelia's a few months back.
Back in June, probably.
In June, yeah, June 4th, I believe, or right around then.
Yeah, it was. We did 2 nights. I think it was the third and fourth, and it was with Sam Holt and our friend Micah Monroe singing with us.
Yeah, she said it was a great show
Oh,
and a
cool.
cool title and a great venue to boot.
Yeah, the venue's killer. It's this little. It's an old. In fact, I met Brian at the Giggling Grizzly in downtown Denver, and the Ophelia's is across the street. It was an old brothel, and maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 10, they turned it into a venue, and it's killer. It's a great venue. There's porn pictures of the paintings up on the wall and everything. So, it's pretty racy. But so they asked JoJo to do 2 nights for Halloween this year, and so he hit me up, and we're doing the 30th and 31st there. And I got a bass player and drummer, and it's going to be a big old time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, why don't you, because you had this really unique kind of experience where you kind of jump from like a musical Tarzan from vine to vine to all these like panic offshoots and connections, and it's really, I think, and I don't think it's a secret that you're a big Panic fan, and certainly,
yeah, huge.
yeah,
Still.
So I think having to go through that, to be on both sides now.
I'm just trying to get to them.
You've gotten to them. where was it that you
I actually did get to play with them in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, nice. What venue is that?
Geez, it was an outdoor. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's hard to say like it's more just like a parking lot almost with a stage.
Yeah.
It's like that place in Pittsburgh.
Right on.
What that was called, but
we'll hit up Everyday Companion.
yeah, it's there. My wife took videos.
Nice. Is Sam going on that? Those Halloween shows, or is that just the JoJo?
So he asked him to do those, but he couldn't. He's got a little girl now, and I assume that Halloween is a tough time for him to get away and stuff. So, and he's got a full-time job that he's doing like production stuff. So
Awesome.
Audio production stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
So he gets to go on the road a little bit here and there, but this one he couldn't make, so we just decided to do it. And I don't think I've played electric with JoJo, but this will be a full-on band electric show.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, I want to kind of just do a little probing. How did you? Because I mean,
do you mind if I smoke?
No, definitely not.
If you're going to be probing.
No, man, please smoke it up, smoke
Cool.
away. Yeah, I was curious, I just want to kind of go through it because it's it's got to be cool, and I can't imagine that. Oh, maybe you have, but it's got to be cool to kind of go through, and just to have an oral history of it. So, how did you find yourself from fan? And I remember you were a huge Bloodkin fan, even for someone who's on the Panic scene. I was like, this guy's really into Bloodkin. Well, and so how did you how did you then wind up going from there, and then playing with Danny and Eric?
I ended up, they knew me from just kind of going to shows, stuff like that. And, they're friendly. They talk to they talk to everybody. And, I think the first time I ever saw them, I helped them, load out their equipment, at Beale Street,
nice.
not Beale Street, Young Avenue Deli in Memphis, Tennessee. And they're just cool. And, so I ended up opening up for them here in Colorado. And friend had him over to dinner, and she invited me, and Danny asked me to sit in, and then it was just kind of, I'd show up with, and they'd ask me to sit in. Then I started showing up with a guitar, and I'd sit in more. Then it was just, it was ready to go. 2005, that summer, they were like, "You want to go on the road?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to go on the road." And I think we did a month and a half that year, or that summer. We call it the hemorrhaging money tour. as Brian knows, we were driving that van across the country, 2004, just sucking down gas.
Real cost effective.
Yeah. We were doing huge financial analysis to make sure we were in the black.
I was just so stoked to be out there. I'm like, whatever
me
we
too, man.
get, we're gonna play.
It was like we played Louisville, and then we played Oregon, and then we played San Francisco.
Yeah. Remember you guys played a restaurant out here called Poor Richard's.
Oh, I played there again with Danny, just not too long. Jim Bull hooked it up. Wow. Yeah, it was his birthday yesterday, Jim.
Right on. Happy birthday,
Jim.
Yeah, happy birthday, Jim. Tori, too. They got the same birthday.
Jeez, Tori, man. It's awesome. So you started playing with Bloodkin.
So, yep.
That was in 05.
The sit-ins started in early 04. They asked me to join the band in spring of 05, and the rest is history. And we did that for, I think I was officially kind of with them till like 2016, maybe. And then they kind of, we do the bring Danny and Eric out to Colorado and put a band behind them. We called it Bloodkin, West. And really it's just it was Danny and Eric. It's Bloodkin.
Gotcha.
But then they kind of got this really great solidified band in Athens that they were working with a lot. And I started working with Jerry around the same time. So, I still play a lot of Bloodkin, shows, and Eric will come out here, we'll do stuff. And, even then, like when they go do Panic and La Playa and stuff like that, I'd go with them and, play. So they take me on certain stuff. And that just kind of, I met Jerry a long time ago before that, but I was just a fan at that point. But, Danny and Eric have, they gave me a lot of clout. And, I met Jerry and we started playing together. And it, he ended up bringing another guitar player on, and then he left, and, it was a natural progression to end up with him. So, and go ahead.
You're still playing with Jerry?
I do. Sometimes, it's like the Bloodkin thing. For a long, I wouldn't go play like, Athens or stuff like that. It's like a plane ticket for one show or something like that. So there's quite a few Northwest shows that I don't make, and if, schedules and stuff don't always align, because I'm mostly for hire, these days. I have some bands I play with, but nothing, super solidified or anything like that. So if schedules don't align, I miss stuff. But like I'm meeting up with them after Halloween to do two shows in Athens and one in Atlanta. Yeah.
So, nice. Yeah. Are you doing any studio stuff? Any recording with anybody?
As far as the Jackmormons goes, we did some really cool stuff during the pandemic. It was called Panther Tracks, and our drummer Steve Drizos, he's got a great studio. He's like one of the more sought after producer engineers in Portland these days, as far as his size studio goes.
Mm-hmm.
He's not it's in his basement, but he's got a really great ear, and knows knows what he's doing. So we did maybe like 13 tracks during the pandemic, and they would record there, send me tracks here, and I do my parts and send them back. So there's that with that band. With Bloodkin, I ended up doing a record with them called Baby They Told Us We Would Rise Again. That was back in like, we recorded it in 07. It didn't come out until like early 2010 or something. But that was the last record before the one that came out right when Danny passed away. So,
Gotcha.
but as far as recording goes, like this is my studio. It's
Nice.
you know, it's not much, but I get a lot done in here. You know, I recorded 3 records during the pandemic. I've got another one kind of in the can, and you know, I record people here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you pushing these right out to like different streaming services, or what are you doing with those?
Yeah, they're all on streaming services. The trying to see if I have one. My last record, actually, an actual company
All
put it
right.
out. They're called Color Red. They're made, right here in Colorado.
Nice.
And they actually made vinyl.
Awesome.
I'm sitting on a shit ton of vinyl.
That's killer, man.
So if you want something, go to Color Red.
Go where?
Colorred.com or whatever it is. Color Red Music.
Very cool.
Yeah. I got some, you know, I got since you and I have you know, probably been in contact last, like my main thing these days is really you know, since being a for-hire touring musician is as lucrative post-pandemic as you could probably imagine, which is not very. You know, I've been concentrating on writing and just kind of trying to play locally and, you know, stuff like that. So I write a lot, and you know, I got multiple albums worth of shit that I'm sitting on right now, just trying to figure out what I'm doing with it. Have some other projects that I'm kind of writing for and stuff like that, which I've never really done. So
Nice. Who locally are you playing with it on a regular basis?
you know, it's funny you ask, because and I was toying with the idea of calling my next record "Maybe I'm the Problem," because everybody I know in my world is kind of left town. You know, it's for various reasons. Like a good friend, backup singer, lead singer to Micah, ended up marrying CR and moved to New Orleans. So she was like my duo partner. Tori moved to Charleston. My killer bass player, Mario Pagliulio, moved back to Italy, you know, right after the pandemic and stuff. So like these days, I'm playing with Andy Clapp, Dr. Paz on bass most of the time, sometimes Spanky. Spanky also lives in Nashville now. He was one of the first to move. He moved back in like 2017 or something like that. And I played with the guy Cody Russell a decent bit. He's a pedal steel player. He's on my new record. He's all over it. And Ethan Ice too. He's still around. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ethan, I play with a whole hell of a lot.
Nice. Is Brett still in town?
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Totally. Yeah. He's got he's a booking agent. He's got a little thing called Rocky Mountain Artists.
Right on.
Yeah.
Nice.
And actually he's playing a lot with Ethan and Bird Dog, and it's all the same dipshits.
Wow. Man.
How's everything going in Denver these days with the venues and
Well,
like all the Cervantes, and I know that recently changed owners, and
Cervantes changed owners a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
That was like 2008.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Jay sold it to Scott and Duncan and Josh, and it was it's been awesome. Like they kill it over there. You know, they put a lot of money into the staging and production and sound system, and you know, they're as pro gets.
Nice.
And yeah, the area around there, it's, you know, used to be pretty rough, and you know, now it's all condos and shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. it's pretty wild. So they're still around. Ophelia's is a really great, you know, it's like 450 capacity. They serve, they do dinner theater type stuff. They do this killer brunch. I do brunch gigs over there, you know, Sunday mornings and stuff like that. It's really an awesome place.
Yeah, it's the owner owns a bunch of restaurants, and
I believe it's the
Edible
Banana.
Beats
Yeah,
or something
Edible
like that.
Beats, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it the Banana Group? No, it's not the Banana Group. They just bought another place. But yeah, Edible Beats is who I get my check from. So, but I think they're like route down. If you ever fly through Denver, there's a route down restaurant in the C terminal, and
Yeah.
there's also one downtown, and they're a part of that. This yeah, it's just a bunch of really cool places, and this place being the one like actual venue, it takes their coolness to the venue thing too. It's really awesome.
How would you say it affects you, like a venue like that is, you know, a cool venue that has better sound or whatever? Like what effect does that have on your gigs, would you say?
They do have great sound, I must say, and they always have killer sound engineers working there. You know, it's a handful of really great people. But it's more just the people. You know, they're just cool. Like all the management there, down to the, you know, people cleaning the tables. Everybody's just really awesome, and you know, and then the venue itself is actually really great too. They have a great green room. You know, the food's wonderful, which sounds kind of lame, but you know,
Yeah, I could see that being huge
40,
when you're on the road.
yeah, and it's not even I'm on the road. I live 10 minutes away.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, the smash burger is fucking phenomenal. And I usually don't eat those things, but I got one day, and I never get anything else. Like even for breakfast, I get the smash. So, but you know, it can be a dive bar and still be my favorite place to play. You know,
what do you have some favorite dives you could think of?
I mean, the Old Town Pub used to be my favorite dive bar, but it's not a dive bar. Like they put so much awesome love into it. That is this really awesome venue up in Steamboat Springs now. But back in the day, it was a killer dive bar. You know, playing the Nowhere Bar is, you know, one of my favorite things in Athens. You know, playing the Georgia Bar, where you literally got to push the pool table out of the way to, you know, stand in the corner with a 6-piece band, Bloodkin. You know, was some of my favorite shows ever. So Sean
We were
Reagan,
talking about that, Brian. We were talking about that in the last podcast when we had
what's that?
Brian and I were talking about that. We had Rich Mahan. I don't know if you ever listened to the Grateful Dead cast.
Oh no, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, super awesome podcast. Learn all sorts of stuff, you know, about Grateful Dead tunes and history and such.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that, just how, yeah, there's some venues that, you know, put all this energy into just making it, you know, just look nice and the sound, and which is super cool. But yeah, sometimes the most memorable shows are in that small, crowded, sweaty.
Yeah. No green room. You
Right.
know, you're just there with everybody else and hanging out, and it's fucking awesome. And then sometimes you get to a gig and there's a fucking jacuzzi. You know? So I'm not a huge fan of public watering holes, but still, that's nice. You know, it's nice of them.
Was there a particular gig that you were kind of surprised at how swanky it was, or for lack of a better word, how upscale, or what was one of the real first kind of top tier venues you got to
I'll give you a
play?
couple.
Perfect.
I'll give you a couple. You're gonna love these. We opened for the Truckers in Virginia at Richmond, and it's what's it called? The National, maybe.
Uh-huh.
It's about 1,000 seats, 1,100 seats, and it's sold out before we got there. And that was a place with the jacuzzi. In fact, that the Truckers, Shauna was in the band then. And she comes and grabs us. She's like, "There's a jacuzzi," and she a bottle of wine and jumps in it, drinks her wine. I'm like, that's cool. So we go to ours, and it's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, we roll into ours, and it's about as big as this room, with a bathroom and everything. It's a nice green room, and on the TV, on a loop, we couldn't change it, was fucking Rocky 4. And I've watched Rocky 1 before a gig. I've watched Rocky, 2 before a gig. Never 3, I don't think. But watching 4 was something special. And, I remember being really nervous for that gig right before it. Me and the bass player, David Nickel, were looking out in the crowd, and we were like, fuck. Every one of those 100 or 1,100 people are in this venue right now. And they're smashed up against that, the front of the stage. And, I just watched fucking Rocky 4 for the past 4.5 hours getting ready for this gig. And we went out there and killed it. It was awesome. It was amazing. It was one of my favorite shows ever.
Very cool.
Ivan Drago can do some amazing things.
Dude, I'll tell you, man. Tori and I almost missed a gig because Rocky 1 was just in this perfect spot of like not being able to leave it. It's like, but we gotta go. It's like, all right, we got a little bit of time, and then it just sailed right into Rocky 2. God damn, we're gonna miss this gig. We made it, but nice. we had to watch at least till I got out of the hospital. But then other gigs, like we opened for Panic at University of West Virginia, and we were in the basketball gymnasium, which hadn't been updated since the 50s, and no chairs or anything like that. Sonny, maybe the nicest man in the world, saw that we had family there and no chairs, and he went around that whole stadium and found like 7 or 8 chairs for us to sit down in.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's totally nice. Not and it was a great gig. Sound was horrible. It was all concrete bouncing. We were a 3-piece acoustic act on a stadium sized sound system, which is daunting. And then the next night was in that Charlottesville place where I got to play with them. Something with an S, I think that's Charlottesville place. Whatever. It was a cool place, and it was a cool year.
I have a question. Like when you're going, or when you had been going to a lot of these gigs, did you like know what you're getting into?
What do you
a
mean?
lot of times, or is it just kind of you get in there and figure it out and experience it as it's happening without any prior knowledge?
So it's almost always like that.
Yeah.
For me in my world. Tori and I, and for those of you, I don't know how this is being put out there, but I talk about Tori a lot. This is my man, Tori Painter. I played, a gazillion gigs with him over the past, almost 20 years. So I will reference him a lot. He lives in Charleston now, and he actually is playing with Bloodkin as, he and Betsy Frank kind of took Danny's place when he passed away. So Tori went from playing out here to being there and doing the Bloodkin thing. it's kicking ass.
Oh, shit.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, ask your question again.
Well, you're talking about how you go into gigs,
Oh
usually you
yeah,
just don't know anything about it. Like a follow-up question to that, like, like, do you like it that way? Would you prefer to?
So, yes, I love it that way. I love knowing what I'm going to do too.
Right.
But Tori and I have always talked about the fact that we love playing music we've never played with people we've never played with before. And you know, he and I write a lot of songs together, and we've played, you know, done a lot of records together and stuff too. Like we've played a lot of stuff that is practiced and rehearsed, and we know what we're getting into. But you know, there are you know, and it's not like a tooting our own horn thing kind of thing or anything like that, but it's a different way of being able to go about music, you know. Like for instance, when Panic asked me to play with them, we were backstage, and you know, he was like, we'll figure it out, you know, what it is. And later on, you know, after we got done with our sound check, I think it was, or no, it was later on. It was like when the show started or some shit. Gary came up to me and he's like, you're on Fishwater. I was like, awesome. Nobody ever asked me if I knew the song. Nobody ever asked me if I had heard the fucking song. Nobody ever told me what key it was in. And there's like 7,000 people out there. And I was like, cool, let's do it. But that's, you know, I'll play whatever in front of anybody. It doesn't matter. Jerry, I've been playing with him a long time, and generally there's something in every show that I've never played. You know, back in the early days, that it was fucking like 3/4 of the show I'd never heard. You know, and you just go at it.
I just want to ask a quick question about that. So yeah, you take someone like Jerry Joseph, who has such a body of material, and so
Hundreds of songs.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
And many of those songs,
and they're all up for, they're all on the table.
They're all right. They're all in the mix, right? And they're all pretty chunky. They're not like, you know, that's not like the Minutemen. So, I guess what I'm wondering is, yeah. So when you just first started playing, I can't imagine there was some like, okay, we're gonna run through X amount of, like, what just like, okay, like you're there and then he's on, here's the key, and just kind of there's the change here.
He doesn't give you the key.
Okay,
You just go.
you just go.
Yeah.
Wow.
The bass player Steve James, he's been with Jerry since the Little Women days. He was playing guitar for him back then, and he knows it all. And when he got hired after Junior left, when he got hired to play bass, he did this, like, he's told me a little bit about it. Just he just fucking learned everything there was, you know, all 30 records, everything that was unreleased, you know, everything.
Jeez.
And he pretty much just charted it all out, which put it here. So he's never had to look at the charts again. So, you know, we'll be up on stage. Jerry will come up to, you know, this is on stage. Jerry will come up to us. We'll all kind of huddle around, you know, and, you know, sometimes I know the song a little better if it's a newer one, you know. But for the most part, we look at Steve James a lot for, you know, for everything, and we kind of just go for it. And sometimes all three of us are playing different things, you know, and we just laugh at each other and, you know, fucking go on to the next part. So, but that's just how it is, man. Like he's got an amazing, I think it's like 400 songs. You know, where Bloodkin and you know, Danny specifically also had that, but all that shit wasn't on the table. You know, with Bloodkin, it was pretty standard. You know, what we'd play, we'd switch it up a little bit with some songs here and there, especially if it was a multi-night thing. But it was, for the most part, you're still getting the same, you know, group songs night after night. Not these days anymore, but back, you know, back then. and except when it was me and Danny and Eric, just doing like acoustic stuff, man, we play everything. It didn't matter. We just fucking go for it.
Was there a dynamic that I assume they're both, I mean, there's a lot similar probably, but if you had to pick, like, is there a certain, did you find playing with, I don't want to say one was better because it's all art and whatever, but like
it's different.
It's different. So how would you maybe describe some of those differences? Like what, when you're playing with maybe Jerry just by himself or maybe Danny just by himself versus that different dynamic of a couple of the Bloodkin folk and Jerry and a couple of other folks,
I've played in all those situations that you've mentioned, and it's all very different, all very, very fluid, and one of my strengths is what we were just talking about, is that I can go with the flow, and it doesn't really like matter what's going on. I adapt, and as far as some of the differences, Bloodkin, it was, you bang the song out, and generally if there was like a jam or something like that, it was at the end. There might be like a little solo in the middle or something like that, but then we kind of do our thing there and just go Rolling Stones on it. Jerry, whether we're just the two of us, acoustic, or the full band where it's more pronounced, we'll bring everything down dynamically to almost fucking nothing, and then whatever we're jamming on, whether it's the chord progression, a groove, whatever it is, that'll go on forever and just come to this thing that is, it's hard to explain, because again, it a lot of the times will start from nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and get to something that is, out of this world. And both bands, those two things are very different as far as like the jamming and, exploration, so to speak. There's a lot of exploration in the Jackmormons. We'll play 30-minute songs, no problem. Bloodkins usually clock in around 7. Something like that. But one of the similarities between the two bands is that I get to, fucking go at it with, like the best guitar players, Eric Carter in Bloodkin and Jerry Joseph in the Jackmormons. And, it, like to some people, it might be like, what are they doing? But it's about the tangle, not the, you take a solo, I take a solo. It's, it's us fucking, going after it at very high volumes.
You guys kind of remind me of like Crazy Horse a little bit.
That's, that's kind of what it is. Yeah.
That kind of like loose, ragged, loud.
That's exactly what it is. And both of them, when Eric and I are doing that, and both Eric, and I play duo acoustic shows, and Jerry and I play duo acoustic shows. And some of my most favorite things that I've ever played in my life is when we're doing that without a band. Like we're not playing chords, so to speak. We're fucking doing our thing without a band. It's just us on acoustics, and man, it's pretty righteous.
Nice.
So, and then we do the full on Crazy Horse, just so it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm a lucky man to be able to have played with all the folks, from CubanStack through through playing with Brian, through playing with Tori, through playing with Dirty Birds, Bloodkin, Jerry, JoJo, all this stuff.
Absolutely. As a fan, I'm lucky. We're lucky to hear it. I think one of the most recent gigs I saw that you were playing with Jerry was at the Star Theater in Portland. I think it was like around
It was
Not
fun.
New Year's, maybe the night before,
Yeah.
well, nights before.
Yeah.
But
Do you remember what? Do you remember what year?
I think this was last year.
Oh, okay, cool. I get
Yeah,
them on. There's so many. We play so many. We always do like 4 New Year's shows, and
yeah.
sometimes they're split up into different venues,
Hmm.
and then sometimes it's all the same venue. Like I think this year it's split up again.
Was it was it you? I felt like there was either you or someone who was having some travel issues
That
where
was me. I missed the
oh,
first night,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that was the night Patterson played too.
Yeah, I didn't catch that night. That would have been sweet. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think I caught you were there.
yeah.
I think you had, yeah, just arrived the night before or something like, or the day of.
That day, I think was the other guitar player. Was Al playing with us too?
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
tall, handsome
yeah,
guy, really great guitar player.
yeah. That was a sweet, that was an awesome show.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool,
and
cool
and
venue.
he's the kind of guy, that's Al's the kind of guy who can just play. Also, like
Mhm.
you know, sometimes when people sit in, it's like, you play a couple songs or something, and that's how it was with me at first in Bloodkin. It was like, oh, you play a song, and then it was like, just stay up. It's like, all right, he can hang, cool. And Al is the same way. Like if he's playing with the Jackmormons, he's playing all night, and he plays a lot of the shows on the West Coast where I don't play. So it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, that was a nice work. That was sweet show.
it was a good time, man. I playing with the Jackmormons it's a fun thing. It's a beast. It's a beast of a band.
I bet.
Yeah.
Is there so you mentioned Patterson. Are there other guys that you haven't fully mentioned yet who you played? Because I'm sure there's been you cross paths with so many folks. I just want to get it, So who have you find yourself on the stage with or with you? Anybody else that we may
That
know?
that might have been my last name to drop.
Patterson.
Yeah. And the year before, I was there for the night. He seems to play at least one night with the band for New Year's these days,
Right on.
which is cool.
Is there a particular venue that you want to make sure that either that you've always wanted to play, or there's some sort of historic significance because of it was a favorite tape of yours or something like that you finally got to play, anything along those lines?
I, to be honest, I just like playing I like seeing new venues. I still love, um, uh, I still love driving to gigs and playing gigs. Sometimes driving across Kansas is a bit daunting. So, air travel is a lot more fun these days. But, I still love the whole thing of going to, new places and playing. As far as, places, I want to play, I'm not sure. I just want to play.
Mhm.
Just want to keep playing and keep exploring the thing. There's a really cool place in is it Waverly, Alabama, I think, something like that. Actually, I have a sticker right here. It's called the Standard Deluxe, and
Okay.
they have this outdoor venue. Yep, Waverly, Alabama,
Huh,
and
sounds like a burger joint.
it does, doesn't it? And what they actually started doing was making T-shirts, and then they started doing like stickers and stuff like that. It's their live snake sticker.
Nice.
Um, and then they bought this kind of like big farm, and they have like a 1,500 person outdoor venue where they get like they get some pretty cool shit. And but they also have this little church on the farm, and it seats about 50 people. And they got this haphazard little PA, and it's like mostly pews. And Jerry and I played there, and that was one of my favorite like gigs ever. We sold out both shows, both nights, and we didn't really need the PA, because it was imagine 50 people in a small little, it was like a old schoolhouse, like a single room schoolhouse, and just places like that I love playing. I love playing places like that. I just played Rancho del Rio, which is it's the headwaters of the Colorado River. So it's like 20 miles up from where we played that gig opening for Barbecue. Brian, you remember that?
Yeah.
In Bond, remember that? It was
Fun. Yes.
yeah, it was me and you and one of Tori's bands, and then Barbecue after us. And it's about 20 miles up from there, and it's like I'd never played there. I just played there this summer, for the first time. And so just shit like that. I love playing shit like that. I don't need to play the state. I don't need to play a stadium. I'd be more than happy to, but I don't need to.
That was so that was a great little venue. What was it called again?
State Bridge.
State Bridge in
Oh,
Boone.
yeah.
Right. Have you ever been there, Jordan?
I haven't. I've heard about it and would love to go there.
It's
It's
great.
been-
You get like
yeah.
there's like a little hotel right there or whatever. You get a room.
Little huts. Yeah,
Little huts.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like, is it like Mishawaka-ish?
Ish. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's right along the Colorado. So you put in like, up near this other venue and at the headwaters, and then you go down to State Bridge and pull out, and that's where you camp. And they would have bands there. They never really figured it out, because it's like, it's just far enough away from Vail. It's about 2 hours away from Denver. So, they never really figured out the exact formula for getting a lot of people to come to the music there, that weren't doing the rapids. So,
Are there any artists that you're still do you have time to see anybody, or like is there anybody you try to see?
I mean, these days I'm coming out of the pandemic, things haven't been as busy. It's for the aging rocker, there's it's not I mean, for everybody, it's really hard out there for touring musicians. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But as far as being busy, I'd like to be busier, and but I do get to do a lot, and unfortunately, there's this weird thing about being a for-hire guy where, if you're too busy, you say no to some really cool shit, or have to break somebody's heart, and so it's this weird kind of thing where you gotta keep open a little bit to and keep your lines of communication open with everybody so you're all on the same page. Sometimes that's hard. But as far as seeing stuff, I'm trying to get out there into the world and see more. Keep up with the kids, so to speak.
Yeah. Right on.
Saw Taylor Swift this summer, and it was the greatest show on earth.
I'm sure.
It was amazing. We had really good seats too, so it was righteous. We got to walk. We could walk to the venue and everything.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was pretty awesome. My wife went back. Sarah went back the next day and got even better seats.
Wow.
Yeah, she got on the floor the second night. So
Man, my nieces would be quite jealous.
we're thinking about finding another place to go see her too. But the first tickets we got for the first show we actually bought when they went on sale, so they weren't like wasn't insane.
Yeah.
Random question, Eric. What was the first concert you ever saw?
Good one.
The first one I can remember going to an actual like place. It was it was the Warner Theater in DC, and I went to see Menudo, and Ricky Martin was in the band.
The ever-changing lineup.
My sisters and my cousins were absolute freaks for them. I was like, yeah, I'll go. I was in the 4th grade.
Yeah, nice. That's
But
awesome.
the next ones were like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith and
A little harder.
Bon Jovi, shit like that. Which I just saw Guns N' Roses. Tori and I went and saw Guns N' Roses in Atlanta a couple weeks ago at Music Midtown. They for the first year since they forget when it was. It was like 2018 when Brian Kemp got reelected to as governor in Georgia. He did something really stupid, or a whole host of stupid things. But then there was something like, super racist and anti-woman and LGBTQ and everything. And they pulled Music Midtown. It was this fucking huge festival down there, and they were like, "Go fuck yourselves." And this was the first year back, and we had these shows in Atlanta and Asheville, and I was like, Guns N' Roses is playing. I want to go see Guns N' Roses again. And so we went. It was awesome. Slash and John Fortis, or I think his name's John Fortis. His last name's definitely Fortis, but dude, those two guys on guitar are just fucking monsters.
Nice. Amazing. Those guys are still
It
not
is.
killing each other on.
It is. They looked like they were being friendly, and I follow Slash on his social medias and stuff, and he's everybody seems friendly these days. So,
Nice.
And they put on a good show. I'd say everybody got an A plus. Axel probably got a little less, but he's still doing it. I give him props for that.
He's showing up on time. So that's
He showed up on time. I couldn't
the
believe it.
victory.
I hadn't seen him since 1988, and they opened for Aerosmith, and I was going into the 9th grade at that time, and my mom took me to the Merriweather Post Pavilion. I'm trying to name as many venues during this interview as possible.
There you go. And, but I do want to ask you about what you said about how the landscape has changed, as a touring musician now. I'm sure there's some things that we know, obviously the, pandemic rapidly increasing the streaming and things of that nature. But
and what it also, finish your question though.
No, I was just from somebody who's actually out there now. So where do you see things heading? How is there an opportunity for, different resources to kind of maybe pool together to either kind of strengthen the live music world a little bit? And it's not going to be, again, like the big time acts are always going to be okay. Those big venues, they're going to be fine. Yeah. It's the indie venues, I think.
A lot of them closed down.
Right.
A lot of them just fucking, it was like, was it like 30% of them during the pandemic, maybe more, were just gone. So there's a lot less venues these days and a lot more bands, and, if you're a venue and, you have a chance of, booking, third tier act or, top tier act, you're probably going to go for that top tier act. That's proven. So there's a lot of that going on. So not only are there less venues, but there are less actual gigs. There's more bands clamoring for less gigs. So there's unfortunately that thing going on. The guarantees are astronomically lower than they used to be. You used to get hotel rooms in a package, and that shit's no more. So you're either driving to the gig, so you're using a vehicle or renting a vehicle, gas, all that, getting hotel rooms, and then pay, if you get the gig to begin with, and then the guarantees are lower, so it's eating up all your expenses. it's just really hard to tour over the past few years, couple years. You know, I've read a lot of stories. Sarah and I share them back and forth a lot of, you know, bands that are just like, we're done. You know, we can't tour anymore. You know, we cut off. We decided not to do this tour because the financials just didn't. You know, they you know, if the numbers don't work out, and you're not going to get paid. You know, and you're going to go out on the road for 2 months. You know, and you have a family. It's like, what are you going to do? You know, probably stay home.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of unfortunate stuff like that where, you know, maybe a lot of bands that would have come out, you know, post pandemic, you know, people are doing other things, you know, so maybe that art isn't being put out there, which is unfortunate. You know, and I may sound like a downer, and the thing is again, I absolutely love it. You know, I love playing, and you know, even if the money's not good, I'm still gonna go do it. You know, can everybody do that? No. You know, and we don't do a lot of things these days because financially it's just, you know, and it's when you and I were doing it, it was you know, cute and fun, and we're, you know, in our early 30s, and
Right.
but you know, now, you know, families, and you know, it's like you're trying to make a living playing music, and it's really a hard spot to be in these days to do that. And you know, you asked what can be done. You know, there's an article, or it was more of an open letter. You guys might have seen it. It was from a jazz musician who kind of just throws it all on the line, and you know, begs Taylor Swift to take this cause on. You know, because she's taken on some causes here and there, and won. You know, so he's like, you know, it's a little beggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
but he makes some really great points and lays it all out like really, you know, well. And it's not just like, you know, people might think, well, you know, is he just crying about the streaming thing? No, it's not that at all. You know, it's like, you know, we get paid the same generally for a gig that people were getting paid in the 60s and 70s, you know, and they were able to, you know, Townes Van Zandt, he was a songwriter just coming out in the late 60s, and he was playing coffee houses and small bars as a solo artist. And he was making $60 to $100 per gig in 1968 or something. And he was able to pay for a house. He was the sole breadwinner, you know, of his family. He had a wife and kid. And that, you know, that's not exactly what, you know, it, but that's part of the range sometimes, you know, 60 to $100. It's like, well, it's better than nothing, you know, for a lot of people. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you got to get to a point where you say no to that stuff, you know, and just kind of go for the better paying stuff. But, you know, it's like if you're trying to, you know, make it as a musician, you got to kind of do whatever is put in front of you. So.
For sure. It's interesting to hear that perspective. And I remember, you know, like going in a restaurant and having live music there, and just hearing that perspective. There was like a particular musician who was just like really adamant about, you know, sharing the musician side of things. And I think a lot of people, you know, probably just feel like musicians just have the life where, you know, it's so glorious and all that. And
yeah, they
you know,
don't need money. They're living the dream, man. They're doing what they love. And yes, we are, but
yeah,
you know, we should be getting paid for it too. And that's a lot of this guy's I wish I remembered his name. Brian, I sent you the article. So you can send it off to George if you want. But you know, one of his things is like, you know, everybody's got a union, but us.
yeah.
You know, like we don't have
Insurance.
shit. You know, we have whatever, you know, backer, you know, and most, you know, bands or musicians that have, you know, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying this as just the truth, you know. somebody's floating the bill, you know.
Right.
It's just, you know, it's
Hmm.
hard. It's hard out there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't want to sound like a, you know, like
No.
everything's horrible and everything fucking sucks, because, you know, I'll be honest, I've had some of my best over the past post-pandemic best paying gigs I've ever had, you know. So it's you know,
Yeah, no, I don't think I mean, it's just the reality of where things are
yeah.
now. And so, I think there's a ton of just in general uncertainty about several things, but
Several things.
but of course, you know, live entertainment in general always kinds of ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
But it is a constant, you know, that's the one thing.
it's
So
always
like, you know, it's just it's you know, it's a humanity. It's what I
I'm
can't,
get,
you
I'm
know.
gonna play no matter what.
Right,
You
right.
know?
And people will have
And
to go see music.
yeah, and people want to go see music. You know, I was actually, I've been going through all my I've been trying to, my social media advisors are trying to get me to do things, and
Oh yeah.
I've been going through.
I think we need some advisors.
Yeah, I definitely need advisors. I'm about that shit. Like I don't I don't know why, but like even just posting about my own gigs, people will find
Right, right, right.
out.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to you know, like make my YouTube presence less lame, you know.
Okay. Yeah. That's good advice for sure.
Yeah. Damn it, I forget what we were just talking about. I forget where I was going with this.
Uh People have to go see music. You're gonna always play music, you know.
So, you know, I have like the videos that I posted, you know, like if I go into my content page or whatever it is, but
Mhm.
then there's like my live streams,
Okay.
which I did 18 months of, you know, in during the pandemic, and or so, whatever it was, you know, maybe it was a full year or something.
Wow. Nice.
So and they're all on there, you know, they're every week. I did one every Wednesday, and so I've been trying to go through them and like take some out, you know, just because
Okay.
it's too many and not all of them are great.
Okay.
um, but people watched them because people wanted live music, and whether it was on a screen, like this was my venue for
Right.
18 months, you know, except during the summer when you know, people weren't scared shitless to come out of their house, and you know, we could put 15 people in a, which was pushing it during 2020 summer. You know,
Mhm.
it was more like if it was a big enough backyard, 15 maybe, you know, and they'd hire, you know, me and Micah to come play, and that was our venue. But this was my venue for fucking ages, you know. Where and the Panther studio was the Jackmormons venue. You know, they streamed every Thursday. I streamed every Wednesday. You know, Danny did every Monday and Friday. It's like, you know, our venues were, you know, it's like half guitar, we'll play.
Yeah.
um, but because people wanted to see music, like to your point, like no matter what's going on in, you know, in world, society, whatever, like people still want to, you know, it's in fact the shittier the times, you know, the more people want to see it.
Beer sales increase and
Yeah. uh, I'll tell you where it was easy to get a drink was that Taylor Swift concert.
Right.
I roll up right to the bar every time. It's killing.
a lot of
Panic.
Shirley,
Yeah. What's that?
a lot of Shirley Temples and
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of adult women there. It's just nobody was drinking. I
yeah,
was there not for a bit. You go to a Panic show, fucking 30 minutes to get a drink.
they run out of liquor. Yeah,
And they run out of liquor before set break.
Panic. I believe, I don't know if this is apocryphal or if it's actually real, but I'm pretty sure that I did hear that in some venue down south, Panic handily holds the alcohol consumption
Oh,
record.
sure.
It's like a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
I think they do it Red Rocks.
Yeah, probably. For
I'm,
sure.
I'm pretty no, pretty positive. Like they have that record. Ain't nobody else gonna beat that shit.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's a nice record to hold because that's when they're like, want 3 nights?
Yeah.
It's like, hell yeah, I want 3 nights.
That'd be great. That would be another podcast episode.
Yeah.
Examine the beer sales for different bands and venues.
So generally, the crowds that I play for and the bands that I play in drink. Um,
Yeah.
These days maybe there's a few more in recovery, and
Right.
that might even it out a little bit. But the last waltz that we were doing it in the Ogden and selling out the Ogden. They were handily beating their alcohol sales for whatever happened that year.
What do you think of the Ogden, by the way?
It's not my favorite venue. I'm short and I get pushed around that place like, Sarah's about my height too, and we just,
Interesting.
yeah, and unless because I the shows I choose to go to, they're always sold out. And, it's a little bit oversold and stuff.
Yeah.
And the sight lines aren't great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like as Brian and I have embarked on this project, just like how many venues out there like are not good venues, or where you hear similar things about it, and it's just like, how are there? I guess it's like anything. There's good and the bad, but there's just so much room for improvement. And
There's a lot of room for improvement everywhere. And some, like the Ogden's just an old theater.
Yep.
I guess it is what it is.
Right.
Uh, but like there's other venues where I can see, again, being a short person, I can see from everywhere, and it sounds fucking great everywhere. Um, Went to a show in, I'm not going to name because it's a place we play, but the sound was so shitty, and like where we were, like in relation to the speaker stack, like it's like, why can't we hear the band? Like, did they forget to turn the speakers on or some shit? And it was very strange. And then you go to
Mission or
see,
something.
yeah, the Mission. It's insane. Like the sound quality in there is so fucking good. I went saw Brandy Carlisle at Red Rocks just recently, and it was amazing how good that sounded. Sorry to keep harping on Taylor Swift, but a 73,000 seat stadium, I've never heard sound that good.
Oh wow.
It was perfect, and she had a 13-piece band. Like It wasn't somebody just like playing electronic music. It was a fucking band behind her playing all this. Pearl Jam, and in the Pepsi Center, which I've seen some really shitty sounding shows in the Pepsi Center. I could hear every note perfectly. It was amazing.
Yeah. Do you think that just has to do like the sound systems that the bands are bringing in?
So. I think so. Just like there's such good technological breakthrough, slash advances these days in audio,
Yeah.
and if you're open-minded enough to get away from the, I need an analog board, the wires have to go, to the fucking speakers and all that. And if you could get away from that a little bit, you start to get into some really cool shit going. Ways to, tune rooms and stuff like that. Trey Band during the pandemic was doing these, and I think Fish did some too, where like the sound person was actually outside of the venue, in like a truck, and they were tuning the room with computers, and like that kind of shit is really I love that kind of stuff. Say bring it on.
You gonna go check out U2 in the Sphere?
No, I'd like to. That'd be pretty cool. That kind of it seems like I don't know if either of you ever been to Disneyland in California, but they have this.
Not for a long time.
Sarah started working for Disney a couple years ago, so I actually reluctantly went about a year ago and had the time of my life. It was so fucking cool. But one of the things was this flight simulator, and it was this massive, what looks like the Sphere, and the shots that I've seen of the Sphere kind of look like that. It's this massive thing, and sometimes you're in a field, or whatever it is. So I imagine it's a lot like that, and maybe there's some vertigo involved. Which is cool because don't they have a song called Vertigo? U2?
It sounds plausible.
Yeah.
Are there any of the kind of the new blood artists that you're checking out, like whether it's Daniel Donato or Goose or Strings or any of those guys?
Not in the genre you would maybe think. I came across this band, and I just turned on Sirius one day. I was driving, and not very often do I listen to a song and I'm like, wow, I gotta like Google that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a song called Miles and Miles, and it was a band called the Heavy Heavy, and a bunch of 20 somethings from the UK, slathered in reverb. It sounds like 1960s psychedelic fucking. It's all very like a guy and a girl singing harmonies and shit. And I was like, man, are they ever coming to Denver? And I looked on their website, and they were coming to Denver like a week and a half later.
I love when that happens.
I do too. End a 2-month tour, and I called Sarah. I was like, dude, we're going to the Larimer Lounge. There's going to be 100 fucking people in this thing. Next time they're going to be playing somewhere much bigger. And sure enough, like, we were front row center. Next time they played the Bluebird, and I think they got a gig scheduled at Red Rocks opening for somebody next year. But fucking cool.
Heavy. We'll check him out. I've got a band for you. I turned Brian onto these guys about a year ago. Leon the Third.
Leon the Third.
Yeah, they actually have a new album coming out, as it turns out, in about a week. And they've got a little reverb going on, all sorts of influences. Yeah. It's Leon, and then it's like third, like I like
okay. I got
Roman.
You. Not yeah.
If you can make that understand that's that. But they have a couple new singles out from the new upcoming album. They actually recently did a cover of Summertime Rolls by Jane's Addiction.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's so good. Their rendition it's pretty sweet. The new songs they released like remind me of Jane's a little bit, but they're remind me of a combination of like Pink Floyd meets Grateful Dead meets War on Drugs meets Jane's Addiction, just kind of all over the map.
I think a little Radiohead I'm going to throw in there.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Very interesting. You should definitely check them out.
It's a great band to throw on some headphones and like repeated listens, and you'll hear, like notice some just interesting, like there's the new songs, there's like some electric sitar on it. Actually, have you listened to Kikagako Moyo at all?
Oh yeah.
Not a new band, a band that just ended apparently, but I saw them about a year ago, and that was speaking of like sitar, that was like a mind-blowing show.
So Sarah and I, my wife has had some really cool gigs, and one of them was working for this company that was a sponsor of Bonnaroo, and so we'd get the VIP Bonnaroo tickets, and for a few years we went, and I actually went to Bonnaroo twice and Outside Lands, which is the San Francisco, the same
Yeah.
company puts it on. And somebody was like, "You need to go see this band Kikugaku." We were like, "Oh, dude, they're like 11 o'clock on Sunday morning." Like, come on, man.
Right.
And we fucking did it. We got up and went, and dude, blown away.
Yeah.
Like, they were one of the last bands we saw right before the shutdown during the pandemic. We saw them at the Gothic, and holy, like, we had seen them at Bonnaroo, then we saw them at the Gothic, and I think we saw them one more time after the pandemic, right before they
broke up
right before they broke up
at the age of 30.
Yeah. Brian, it was mostly are you familiar with this band?
I know of them. I'm not really familiar with them.
Mostly instrumental. Like, every once in a while they'd sing a bunch of loud guitars and a sitar, just very
some chanting or some
chanting type
like
stuff.
some foreign languages.
Yeah, and I think the first time we saw them, there was none of that, no vocal at all. But the second time, it was there was some of that. So cool band.
Yeah, interesting mix. It's like Zeppelin meets psychedelia meets Ravi Shankar. It's like I was blown away. I've listened to them, but like seeing them live, I was like, it was the first band in a while. I was just like, whoa, just like
interesting stuff.
Crap, yeah.
Kikugaku Moya.
Nice.
So tell me about this Venue Llama.
Sure. Go ahead. Jordan, why don't you start it off?
Yeah.
Well, having been going and seeing music, since my first concert was Squeeze when I was in junior high in Madison Square Garden. But anyway, seeing music since then, seeing lots of tons of shows, lots of shows that you've played in, but just going to venues all over the country. I just feel like there's always so many questions I have going into a venue. And I feel like lots of people have questions, and how you were talking about, you like not knowing a lot going into a venue, or just a show. And I agree with all that. And, it's why I see a lot of the bands I see, just because you just never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, I think it's good to know, I like knowing certain things, just like where to go in. Like, is there, am I going to
basic venue stuff?
Yeah, basic venue stuff. Am I going to waste? I don't want to waste my time standing on a line if I know that there's an entrance. If I have field tickets, if I know beforehand that this is where I go to get on the field, stuff like that. If I want to know, like, what's a good bar or restaurant to go to before the show, like, where's the best sound inside the venue, stuff like that. So it was born out of that, like all those questions, and just realizing a lot of people had those questions. So I was like, there needs to be a platform where people can go, where there's a database, and go and find all this information about a venue, like in one spot, where people that go to shows can also just comment on all these things about the venue. So I think I had this, I remember first talking about it like over a year ago, like at Dick's, seeing Fish. I remember just having questions and kind of like talking about this with some friends, like, that's actually a really good idea, and running it by some more people. I'm like, yeah, we need that. So just kind of gained a little, steam and momentum, just talking about it. And then the more that I would talk to people, like, yeah, I would want to know about this and that, or what's it like for tapers or handicap people, or can I get a gluten-free beer, just like all sorts of things. And so I don't know anything about starting something like that. And I was exactly I'm like, who's somebody that I know that I can at least run the idea by, who's into just cool person who, is into, speaks the same language of,
Right.
these bands and this culture. And I reached out to Brian.
Well, it seems like a good fit.
Totally. And he's like, yeah, he thought it was a good idea. And we were kind of, is like, is this in your wheelhouse? And he's about, Brian, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, so Jordan had the idea, and he bounced it off of me, and then he said, "Can we do it?" And then we figured out how we could do it, and then I thought it was a really good idea, and then I thought it was something I could do also. So yeah, then we went and built it, and so obviously there's like a web component, and now there's a whole promotional component, and then the whole community component. But yeah, it's the other thing I'm noticing, and it's funny because every time Jordan and I talk, there's more ideas about more stuff that there's a need for, and I think there's going to be some version of this that will probably be for the touring musician. I think in terms of just, I mean,
Or at least the management or the promoters.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when you started talking, Jordan, I was putting it into musician terms in my head, and we have to advance the show. That's what it's called, and it's like, okay, a couple weeks before the show, it's like, all right, here's what we're bringing. Here's our stage plot. What do you have? And do you have everything we're going to need? And some venues have that kind of stuff on their websites, but most of them don't. And,
right.
And it, if it's updated, also is a very valid.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and some other things, it's like, when does the show start? When's curfew? I know that's a big thing when you're seeing a band. You don't want to have to like worry about that, or like, where do I get a shuttle after the show? Just taking those things out, so you can spend more time just like being in the moment at a show. And like Brian said, as we've been talking, we're like, yeah, we can also like, let's use this as a tool to like feature venues and help the whole
I love it.
community, like feature venues that people don't necessarily know about, that are making efforts with whatever the sound, and and let's help musicians, and let's just try to make the whole experience better. And we're just constantly and it's been fun, just also just getting back in touch with Brian and hearing, Brian and I went to high school together, so it's been fun to reconnect and even just share high school
yeah, man,
stories and whatnot.
The other thing I'm thinking of is like, so much of the venues can be like propelled certainly by like, the artists that wind up going there, but someone like Fish, if they go in they made a point of doing something at the Climate Pledge Arena, or the Huntsville the Orion, right? Between Panic and Fish, they're now selecting to play these venues, which by all accounts, this Huntsville amphitheater, the Orion, is like
it's
kick
awesome.
ass. Yeah, across for in every metric,
for the musician and the patron.
Yeah, and become a destination venue as a result.
My friend is going to Spanky, actually, and his girlfriend Lulu are driving down from Nashville to see Brandy Carlisle and Tanya Tucker do it.
Right on.
They've been doing these gigs together, so
nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, Huntsville's like a stone's throw. So I got 2 little kids now. So as soon as that shit is okay.
Wait a second. You have 2 kids?
2 boys, yeah.
Oh,
5 and 2.
Okay.
Almost 2.
Good job.
But thank you. Yeah, it's wild. But anyway, I think the point is that I think these venues are now realizing, and they must in general, even if they're still sort of big, but the mid-size, the amphitheater size, if you want people to come, you have to make that experience really positive,
Right. And people aren't going to Walnut Creek anymore.
Right. And I think even some of the smaller venues too, even some of the, people now have some sort of they're so used to looking at reviews for everything and looking for everything. So they want to, they're kind of spoiled, or they're going to make a prejudgment before they go somewhere in many cases. And it's like, if the so-called dive bar can just do a little to make things a little more on the surface, at least more appealing.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge help, I would think. And that helps, like, I don't know. I think there needs to be kind of a concerted effort on a lot of people's parts to kind of try to make a difference. It's not, don't take this for granted anymore. People aren't just going to show up all the time. Yes, there's a need to see live music, but you can't just count on fans to just, or people just to show up just cause, you know, they still, it's got to be a good experience.
It does. You know, going back to the finances, you know, wah wah, I get it. I'm fucking downer. But it you know, it all comes down to money, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the same, you know, vein of, you know, can a struggling musician, you know, like pay what he should be, like what they should be doing, you know, well, you got to pay food and rent and all that stuff. So, you know, same thing with like the dive bar owner, you know, they're not putting, you know, and I can think of a few, they're not putting any money into their fucking venues, you know.
Sure.
And which, you know, then opens up for, you know, some bigger, you know, type thing to come buy other people out or spend the money, which happens, you know, some venues that I wish didn't get bought out, you know, by other, you know, the Live Nations and such kind of have over the years, but yeah, it's all good. You know,
Maybe we'll get that dive bar to finally put the door on the bathroom.
There, you know, stuff like that, you know, you want to take a crap in a fucking bathroom.
I mean, there's a certain charm of, you know, taking a crap with
everybody watching.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah. But, you know, as a, you know, go back to the touring musician, you know, you get to a venue and, you know, you've been fucking driving all day, you know, and there's not sufficient facilities. Like, come on.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
And
no, I think there's
places I play. You know, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on. All right. That's where we're at. Okay. I guess I'll go across the street to the gas station.
But you know, it's funny. It's in the, you know, in one of the fields that I was in is, you know, there's the retail aspect of it, and some of these stores don't do shit. They simply rely on the product because it sells itself in such a way. So they don't have to keep the store looking neat. And it's a very, very stereotypical, disgusting store. Now, there are other stores in this genre, right? And they're very high end and classy.
Yeah.
And those guys kill it. So, you know, if you just kind of make a little bit of an effort, you can do a lot. And I don't want to put myself in some of these I don't want to put myself in the shoes of the venue owners. I know that it's a tough row to hold, you know.
I get it. I get each, you know. It's like, you know, I play some venues that are fucking classy as shit, you know. Play some really nice places, you know, but I also play some not nice places that are just as fun, if not funner than, you know, than the super classic. Like it's all about the, you know, as you guys know, everything is all about it. Everything comes into account: your surroundings, the people, you know, the people working at the venue.
Is there a particular gig where you can think of, or maybe a handful of gigs that you can think of, where all those things really just aligned? You know, the folks on stage, maybe it was just someone who you hadn't played with that often, and they were there, and the crowd was just perfect, and the event, like everything was all cylinders. Is there something you could remember like that?
Honestly, that happened. So this past weekend, we played a wedding in rural Vermont, and it was fucking awesome. You know? And it was kind of an acoustic band. So me and Tori on acoustic guitars. Our friend Chris Sheldon plays this like little drum set that he made out of a banjo. So like the banjo sits like this, and it's got a little hi-hat on it, and he goes, you know, because the banjo is a drum. And He's got a little kick drum that he made out of a makeup case, suitcase type thing, and then a dude on bass, and the bass player I had never met before. Tori met him in Charleston. He's played some gigs with Jerry, so I heard about him through the scene. So a guy I've never played with before, playing some music we never played before. It was pretty cool. But everything kind of worked. Like we rented equipment, an entire PA system, from a Guitar Center in Burlington, Vermont. Drove it 45 minutes up into the sticks and played music, for our friends, for Tori's girlfriend Mariah's brother's wedding. And it was fucking unbelievably fun. Like everything kind of had to work, had to like fire on all cylinders. We got to the place, it was a converted barn, like 50 feet tall ceilings, and like the sound was killer. Everything just kind of fell into place and worked. And then,
Nice.
played with I'd never played with Corey before. The first notes during sound check was killer. And then
That's awesome. Vermont's just awesome in general, and
dude,
something about the vibe in Vermont. Just
it was awesome.
This time of year too, it's starting. The leaves are starting to change. And
we were there for 4 nights, 5 days, and just over that time, the leaves changed an unreal amount. So it was pretty deep.
Yeah, there's no better place to be around this time.
Yeah, and the place we got was this super huge barn where half of it was converted into a house probably 30-40 years ago or something like that. And,
nice. Yeah, I love that about Vermont, just like barns that are turned into restaurants or shops. Or there's actually, like, speaking of venues, there's a place, I don't know if the same area is like actually Waterbury, like Stowe-ish area, like 45 minutes from.
It was real close to Stowe.
Okay, this place that I'm talking about is called the Zen Barn, and they actually have, it's right by Ben and Jerry's out there. Super cool place. There's like, it's a restaurant, but they have a venue. They actually get some pretty decent bands there. Super, just a cool space. We were actually at Ben and Jerry's, and we got out. We were at the Ben and Jerry's factory, and get out, and there was like a flyer in our windshield that there was like some Dead cover band playing there, and we went there and had dinner, and it was just super cool spot.
The drummer Chris Sheldon, his dad Bob came with him. They drove from Cleveland to this, and he went out to the Ben and Jerry's factory, and we all gave him a list of our favorites, and he brought back a pint of each one. Nice. And then everybody left the next day, so Tori and I pretty much ate 3.5 pints of ice cream over 24 hours or something.
Nice.
There's a place to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Can I get the flip side? Can I get the worst gigs type of situation?
This wasn't the worst. Every gig has its merits, or like you can. Peanut taught me that you're gonna find something good, even if it's gonna be a shitty gig. Like you're gonna find something good. And ever since that gig, that was also at the Gig Like Grizzly in 2004. I've tried to find some good in every gig. 2005, we roll into a gig. It was Bloodkin. We had driven all day through Kansas, and we get to Kansas City, Missouri. I think it was called Mike's Bar. You and I might have played there for all I know. I know we played in outside of Kansas City once, but
Lenexa,
anyway,
we played something.
Yeah, Lenexa. So anyways, we show up, and they're literally building the stage. Like, is it going to be done? Sound check was, we were definitely late. So, stuff like that. I venture to not trash some of my worst gigs just because
Fair enough, of course.
those folks are still out there.
Sure.
So, but
Right
there's been some doozies. Another good
sure.
one was CubanStack, which is a band that Josh Stack and I have had since 2002 or some shit like that. All different variations, but we actually just put out a record recently, and Tori played keys on it. Josh and I did the rest of it. It was pretty fun stuff.
Nice.
But he got us this wedding outside of Asheville, and at this really nice wedding venue type place. So he brings in CubanStack, which is a very loud, kind of aggressive rock band, and we set up the PA. We drive our truck in, we're setting up the PA, and the venue owner comes running out. She's like, "What in the hell are you doing?" And we're like, "We're setting up for the band." And she's like, "This is an all acoustic bluegrass, no microphone type thing." And I was like, we're just like, I mean, you're gonna ruin this poor woman's wedding day. I think we negotiated a couple of speakers worth of PA equipment, and we played acoustic guitars and not quite brushes on the drums, but like the hot sticks,
How'd it go?
Yes.
It was a good gig, actually. Mark Brutt actually played bass for us for that gig. There was a run where he was playing these random bass gigs for us for CubanStack when he was still living. I think he was living in Athens at the time. He had already left Atlanta, living with Jane, maybe.
Very interesting. Okay. Nice. Do you know Mark Brutt, by the way? He's from the Panic fan community, and then got into the Colorado music scene. And
yeah, he's been out here for ages at this point. Maybe 15 years or so, something like that.
Nice.
All right, man. Well, cool, man. I mean, I really appreciate your time, and it's
totally.
always great to. I'm really glad we got to catch up.
It's killer. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great.
Jordan, was that you who gave me the sticker at Red Rocks?
Okay. Yeah, totally. I ran into you like briefly at Napa this summer, the summer before.
I remember that, but I might have been a little high on mushrooms when you gave me the sticker at Red Rocks, and the show was just starting too, wasn't it?
I think it was a little bit before. And
but I remember waking up the next day and I had this sticker in my pocket, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Sofer's new thing with Jordan." All right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. It's been awesome to chat and hear your stories. And sounds like
I definitely intend to stay in touch. So now that I got your digits again, and I do all of everything at my desktop for the most part, so I'll shoot you some notes here and there.
Please do. And I sent you that article of the guy's plea for Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Industry. I think you should share it with Jordan. It's
for sure.
Again, it's just interesting to see this take on where we are as a society. Music.
Yeah.
Maybe we can circulate that too. I'm excited. I'm sure I'll see you out here.
I was gonna say, if you end up at any of those shows, man, let me know. I'd love to hook up, grab some food or something. Any of that.
Yes, sounds good.
I didn't realize you were. I mean, I was literally just in Asheville, man. I would have.
Oh, you let me know next time.
I would have made you come up.
Fuck yeah! Just let me know anytime you're in the area.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you all having me.
Thank you. All right. Talk soon, man.
All right,
peace.
cool.
All right, bye.